I almost feel bad writing this up because at the end of the day, World of Warcraft was such a large part of my life, and discussing what the game has become in my eyes feels like a personal attack on that part of my life in specific. When I was 15 years old, my mother pulled me out of 10th grade and told me that I had to go out and get a job. Otherwise, she, my sister, and I would have no home. I couldn't find a job in Australia at 15, so I started working online as a freelancer. I would code, I would make forum posts, I'd write up articles, I'd do SEO, I would sit at my PC from the moment I woke up until the moment that I went to bed. And while I was definitely a hard worker, working for several hour intervals at any given time, I needed an outlet to escape that repetitious, at times abusive cycle that I was now in, and that's where MMOs came in. We were poor, and when I say poor, I mean horrendously poor. We couldn't even feed ourselves every day. We lived in a trailer park for a while, and my mother had to actually go get coupons from local churches to buy food, lest we'd end up starving on the street. So, having the ability to purchase video games were a luxury that we just couldn't afford, literally. I found my way to MMOs like Tales of Pirates, and then Perfect World, Fly, Fiesta, Florentia, honestly, a whole lot of games that started with F for whatever reason. And over the course of my first few years in the MMO scene, I clung to the hope that one day I would get to play this huge subscription-based MMORPG that was, at the time, considered to be the greatest thing that happened to the world since people realized that you could add cheese to things. This led to me eventually beginning World of Warcraft in 2008. After Wrath of the Lich King launched, I think I actually got WoW for myself as a birthday present and a Christmas present combined, given that my birthday falls less than a week before Christmas. I was, I think about 19 at the time, setting foot in Azeroth for the very first time though, before Deathwing got all angry and ruined everything, was an incredible experience. One that has not, to this day, been rivaled for me. I'm a basic guy. I ended up starting as a human warrior because I always played humans in my games. The reason that I chose to remain human though was due to the everyman for himself racial that humans had, acting as a secondary trinket in PvP, providing additional opportunities to trinket out of stuns and other types of CC. Now, moving through Elwyn Forest, seeing the massive city of Stormwind, getting attacked by my very first Murloc. Now, I had dedicated time and devotion to games in the past. I'd spent 2 years playing Tales of Pirates and Perfect World respectively, becoming not only the top Crusader on Phoenix Isle in Tales of Pirates, but one of the top Blade Masters on the Sanctuary server in Perfect World. But this required I pay to play it every month. This required a different type of dedication. I wasn't going to let the price of the game and the monthly investment that I put into it go to waste. So I played this every day, every week, every month. And up until last month, I had an active subscription. Yeah, for over a decade, I had an active subscription to World of Warcraft. This was not an addiction for me. This actually became part of my life. I became a hardcore raider. I did heroic raids, I did mythic raids when they became available. I re-rolled multiple different characters across various different servers to become a part of several different communities, because this honestly was how I socialized. This is how I made and maintained friends. I played on PvP servers back before they removed that server type in favor of the war mode feature. I'd spend hours out in the open world with friends, fighting horde everywhere we could. I would break down the day into working in the morning, PvPing in the afternoon as a form of break, working into the evening, eating dinner, raiding into the night, then working after everyone went to bed. I think I'd probably sleep maybe 4 to 6 hours per day if that. Again, I was really dedicated. I played through every major expansion since Wrath. Cataclysm hit and I thought to myself, you know what, this is actually pretty sick. Reshaping the world, the new zones. Although admittedly, I did hate how they altered how weapon masteries worked in Cataclysm. Mists of Pandaria rolled out and I thought that the new zones were gorgeous. The feel was much lighter than previous expansions, which I know upset some people. And my Arms Warrior had access to Bloodstorm, the Bloodbath and Bladestorm combo that I abused for 2 years, or however long that combo was available. Warlords of Draenor was not enjoyed by pretty much anyone, but I mean, it looked pretty sick. Legion was a return to form and brought back one of my favorite characters next to Arthas. Although I began to realize back in Legion, even after everyone claimed the game was saved after years of incompetence, things were different. I found myself taking breaks lasting months back in Draenor, and interestingly enough, the same thing happened to me in Legion. The narrative was great, the zones were stunning, the grind admittedly really wasn't, but it just felt so different. I wasn't quite sure what it was that felt different though until Battle for Azeroth hit. Battle for Azeroth went on to prove several different things for me. On the one hand, the art team were legitimately carrying this game ridiculously hard. Everything about Battle for Azeroth was gorgeous. Borealis, the new zones, the new dungeons. You gotta give credit where credit's due, so kudos to the art team. You guys are the only reason I even went back into Shadowlands. And then on the other hand, it seems as though the devs have absolutely no idea what they're doing at this juncture, or rather, it's more evident than ever that the devs probably haven't had much of an idea with regards to where they want to take WoW and what they want to do with it for a while now. The story is an absolute convoluted mess. Well, okay, let me take a moment here to clarify. The story has been a convoluted mess for a while now, long before Shadowlands launched. Shadowlands, however, is just so poorly written with so many half-assed features that it's more blatantly obvious than ever how bad the game has become. Although I will admit, the story has never really been the focus in WoW. Lore? Yeah, sure. Story, that has always taken a back seat to the rest of the game. The world itself, the dungeons, the well-designed, at times incredibly difficult raid content, the PvP, open world PvP and instanced PvP alike, transmog runs, leveling ults. There's just so much to WoW and to Shadowlands, or more than that, the last few expansions have repeatedly broken down what I like, what makes WoW, well, you know, WoW to me. World quests, that was a great addition in Legion. World quests provided incentive to go out into the world and complete a surplus of different quests with other players. It promoted grouping, it promoted teamwork, exploration. It carried the potential to provide some great rewards for your time investment. Open world PvP, okay, I'll take a second here, and I'll admit I do kind of like the war mode feature. It allows for both MRSSTIX and I to engage Horde when we're feeling feisty, or to play it safe when we don't have much time. Mythic Plus dungeons are just essentially forming the same couple dungeons for 2 years with monsters that hit progressively harder. They're stale. We need much more variety if we're ever going to be able to combat that. I didn't try the new raid content in Shadowlands. After finish everything, I couldn't. I got so bored. I was bothered by the fact that the world was just so beautiful, but at the same time so void of life, so void of really anything. I've always loved leveling ults. I've always had a rep pally, an arms warrior, an affliction lock, and some type of hunter leveled as ults. Yet Legion proved to be a challenge to maintain more than a single character at any given time, and it seems like Blizz has continued to ruin the ult leveling experience for us. I guess I'm kind of happy with how Square handle Final Fantasy XIV, allowing for players to level anything on a single character. Sure, it can be limiting at times. You'll always look the same way unless you use a Fantasia, but at the same time, you'll never find yourself running behind. When I log into World of Warcraft now, or when I would log into World of Warcraft just a few months ago, I did so because I felt like I had to. It was a job, a chore. It wasn't because I genuinely wanted to, that there were things I wanted to do. Purely because I wanted to do them because I enjoyed them. Nothing about the current WoW experience is what I fell in love with so many years ago, and I know a lot of you guys can relate to that. And while I am fully aware, I understand that every game, that every MMO needs to evolve, needs to adapt, where Final Fantasy, as an example here, has continued to grow, to improve. World of Warcraft has chosen to decline, to stagnate, to instead make things more cumbersome, more difficult, more frustrating. This happened with Arcade Unchained as well. What was once a thrilling sandbox MMO with endless freedom is now a daily simulator, and unfortunately, that's more or less how WoW feels for me as well. And the pandemic hasn't helped this at all. There's been a massive content drought for longer than I recall. Players have been grinding the same content in a repetitious cycle with no clear end in sight until just recently. Yet even with the additions being included in the next patch, even with the alterations being made to so many features, it is not going to change the fact that this game just is different. The developers that had genuine passion for this game are gone. What's left are a group of talented artists who make absolutely gorgeous environments, talented voice actors that bring their respective characters to life, and then the rest are just people that have clearly never played WoW before in their life or just don't care for the game in any capacity. All they see are dollar signs, they're short-sighted and know that this is a cash cow and want to milk this for as long as they possibly can until they make World of Warcraft 2, much like they're making Overwatch 2, or a mobile game spin-off. But I mean, that's just me. I don't know, maybe I got old and I just outgrew World of Warcraft, but it's just not what it was. It's changed, and not for the better.